Okay, let's do the final two questions. We're still on the review, and we're going to start with number 18. Okay. Number 18 is one more for refining the zeros. And so we're going to do the rational zero test first. Factors of 2 will be plus or minus 1 and plus or minus 2. Factors of the lead coefficient 3 will go on the bottom, plus or minus 1, plus or minus 3. I'm going to do all of the different combinations over 1 first. 1 over 1, 2 over 1. Then I'll turn around and do all of the combinations over 3. 1 over 3 and 2 over 3. All right. I'm actually going to start with the 1/3. I'm not going to go through a bunch that don't work since I'm just doing a review. I'm going to put my little cheats in. The third degree polynomial we're dividing into. So, okay. Sorry about that. I'm going to need a third degree position, a second degree, plain x down to the constant. I think my pen is getting tired. Okay, the coefficient for the third degree term is a 3. For the second degree term, a -7. For the x, a plain 8, and a -2 is our constant. To start, like I said, I chose the 1/3, but you would actually go up and down through the list until you get to 1/3. On the exam, you're guaranteed to find one within the first 6 tries. I'm going to bring the 3 down. 1/3 times 3 is 1. Adding down, I get a -6. 1/3 times -6 is -2, so I get 6. 1/3 times 6 is +2, and we found 1. Since we found 1, we're going to circle him, and we're going to mark our successful division. We come back up here and notice since it was a third degree term, our answer is now a quadratic. So at this point, it is not an option. We're going to take it out. I notice that they all have an extra 3 in common, so I'm going to go ahead and divide every single piece by 3. I'm going to be left with an x squared minus 2x plus 2. Unfortunately, it doesn't factor, so we get to use the quadratic formula with an a of 1, a b of -2, and a c of +2. So plugging in, we get x equals minus a -2, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all over 2 times a. That's going to give me minus a -2, which is 2, plus or minus the square root of, this is 4, and that is -8, which gives me a -4 underneath the square root, all over 2. I'm going to clean it up a little bit. That's 2 plus or minus. The square root of 4 is 2. Because it's got a negative underneath there, it's also going to have an I. Instead of making a complex fraction, I'll make 2 smaller fractions that reduce to 1 plus and minus I. So that means our master list contains a 1/3 and a 1 plus or minus I. Let's look at our last problem that we're going to review for this exam, and it is number 19. It's a rational function. This is section 3.5. So we have 3x squared over x squared minus 4. And again, you're going to have your sheet out in front of you that you got in class or that you got from course resources on Blackboard if you missed class. Number 1, we're going to do the symmetry. We'll plug a -x in. So we get 3 times -x squared over -x squared minus 4. No, my pen is tired. Okay, that's going to get us a 3x squared over x squared minus 4. We notice since it looks exactly the same as the original, it is y symmetry. That's kind of cool. Step number 2, we need, I'm reading the sheet, it says, find the y-intercept if there is one. So I label by evaluating f at 0. After plugging 0 into the original function, I'm going to end up with 0 over -4, which will get me a 0. Step 3, again, reading my sheet. To find the x-intercepts, if there are any, take, oops, and I forgot one thing at the beginning, didn't I? The top of our function is our p of x. The bottom of our function is our q of x. So to find the x-intercepts, if there are any, we're going to take p of x and set it equal to 0. I'll start by dividing both sides by 3. X squared will be equal to 0, so I get, I do not know what's wrong with my pen, is 0. Step number 4, horizontal asymptotes, vertical asymptotes. It's me. Okay, vertical asymptotes. To find these, we solve q of x set equal to 0. I'm going to use the square root method on this because my pen is acting weird, but you can use the quadratic formula or a factor. I'm going to take the square root of both sides. On the left, the square root and the square cancel each other out. On the right, because we physically took the square root of both sides, we get plus or minus, and the square root of 4 is 2. So they're my vertical asymptotes. To find the horizontal asymptotes, we're going to, in step number 5, this is horrible. I don't know what's wrong with my pen. I think the battery is getting low. We'll finish though. Come on. Okay, we're going to start by finding the degree of the numerator, 2. Find the degree of the denominator, 2. In that case, y will be a sub n over b sub n. A sub n is the coefficient out in front of the lead term of our numerator, which is 3. Our b sub n is the lead coefficient on the denominator, which is 1. So our horizontal asymptote is at 3. For 6, we're going to build a table. We're going to start by putting the values we don't want on there. It says plot at least one point between and beyond each x-intercept and vertical asymptote. So we don't want -2, but it's going to help us build a table. 0 and 2. And I'm going to build these with you, so it's going to take me a second. Hopefully it won't make the video real long. I'm going to end up using -3, -1, 1, and 3. Okay. Let's plug into our calculator, and you can do that on your own. Pause the video if you need to. 7 over. See, the first one, I got 5.4. I don't know why it's pink. And let's go back. Okay, for the -1, -1. For the 1, I got -1. And for the 3, 5.4. All right. Now we're ready. I'm looking back, and the biggest number I see is that 5.4, so I'm going to do 6 units in every direction. Remember, these are also on video under lecture videos, and you can watch those examples again. Okay, I'm going to start at the very beginning. It's got y symmetry, so that I know it's going to mirror over the y-axis. The y-intercept and the x-intercept are both at 0. I've got vertical asymptotes at plus and -2. First, and excuse my pen, he's still tired. I've got a horizontal asymptote at 3. Okay, now we're going to put in our points. I know that at -3, we're going to have an asymptote at 5.4. So about here, Same point exists at positive 3 on the other side. And then at -1 and +1, we're going to go down to -1. Okay, this part's going to be easy, so I'm going to go ahead and draw that in. I know that it's going to continue down and out to the left toward the asymptote and follow. Same thing to the right. Now, these single points that are in the area by themselves are going to be an ear. As it goes up, it's going to approach the asymptote. If it goes to the left, eventually it's going to follow the asymptote. And same thing with the other one. All right. Well, that's it. You guys, good luck on your exam.